We're on Daf Gimel Amid Beis, and just to review the last logic of Daf Gimel Amid Aleph is that if he was mafkir the Avnel Sakina Maso, then after he puts it into Rosh Hashanah, then everybody, Rav and Shmuel, agree unanimously that that's a bar. V'i delo afkarinu. Let's say he still owns the Avnel Sakina Maso. According to Shmuel, the Amakula mi bara lamadnu hainu bar. According to Shmuel, even if you were mafkir, even if you did not make the bar hefker, but you retain your ownership on it, still bar, and therefore we should assume told the same kayotzman. The Rav the Amakulon mi shara lamadnu. And that means that if you have a takola, that's something that's dangerous for others and it damages them, and you retain ownership on it, then it's a subcategory of shar. Is hainu shar? Then this amno sakina maso is a told of shar. Ma'ishna bar shekei tchilas asiyos lenezek shmosnol. Hani nami tchilas asiyos lenezek ve'mamon chosh miraso alecha. There's no difference in the avon and tolda. Just like if you dig a bar, it's tchilas asil lenezek, and it's mamon chosh miraso alecha. So too, in the case where he puts an evan in the middle of Rosh Hashanah, it's mamoncha according to Rab, and it's miraso alecha. So why should told the same be lav kayotzman? I told the bar kibar v'chi kamarav papa. I told the mave. So now we're talking about Shane, according to one Mandi Omar, that Shmuel's holds a Mav Shane. My Ninu Shmuel, the over Mav Shane, or Keimnu, told her the Shane. Kishain, we already established on Omid Aleph that the told of Shane, like for example, Nischacha Bekotzel, Lehana Osa, or she was Misgalagal on Peros, Lanos, in all those cases, told the same Kayotze Ben. The Rav, according to Rav, who says, Adam, my office might told us this bay. What's an Avin told in the case of Adam? And if you'll say, Av Niar told the Yoshin. When a man is awake and he's mazik, that's called the Av of Adam or mazik of Mavet. But in a case where he went to sleep, and during his sleep he rolled over and he stepped on different kalim and he destroyed people's property, that's called Yoshin. Why should there be any difference between air and Yoshin? When he went to sleep, he should have been careful that somebody else's utensils should not be damaged when he's asleep. And therefore, we have no reason to differentiate between the Av and the Tola. And it couldn't be that Rav what he said told the same Lav Keyotzman was referring to air and Yoshin and Mavin Odom. Elakicho v'nio. Gemara says that it's a case where he exudes phlegm or nasal liquids, right? So he was mazik a person. So the Gemara says, if somebody got damaged while he was walking and he tripped over or he got his clothing dirty by this kecho v'neo, then kocho havi, we have a din of kocho kigufo, and therefore told the same kayotze ben. If it didn't happen when he spit out the phlegm on somebody else's beggar directly, but rather the phlegm landed on the ground, hainu bar, then bein l'rab bein l'shmuel, that is bar. I mean, obviously he was mafkid because he doesn't want to own this stuff. Ella told the mave, kemave v'chikomer papa told the eish. What do you mean told the eish? Told the eish mai. My ninu, which is your classic case of H. The ruach mitzuya is like an H. Is hechi dami bahadi tekazi kamazki adu H. If it damaged on its way down directly, then it's got to be told the same kayotzebed. Ma'ishna H tekochach muraben. In the case of Eish, it's the wind that carries the Eish from one place to the other to call the Hezek. Is this also Haninami Koch Achim Uraban? If he puts up an Evan on top of a ledge and the wind blows the Evan down and damages someone, then that's Koch Achim Uraban. Therefore, you can't say that it's told the same Lav Kayotzeben in the case of Eish. Ella told the stage case, Pabal told the regel. What do you mean told the regel? We already excluded told the regel. And the Gemara answers this, Sinai, and that's called Chatzi Nezek Tzroros. So as the animal is walking, instead of stomping on something and destroying it, it shoots out pebbles. Like you could see it with a donkey and even you could see it with a horse and maybe even possibly any animal that shoots up pebbles. And in such a case, you pay Chatzi Nezek, and that's called Toldos Lav Kayotzemen. So Gemara says, well, why do you Bechlal consider Tzroros to be a Tolda of Regel? Amai Karli told us Regel. And the Gemara says, by calling it a Toldos Regel, because again, it's a damage that was caused by the Regel of the animal, you have now Nafkeminis. And what is that? Number one, Lishale Mina Alya, that it pays Mina Alya. Just 1 second. Oh. So here's the difference between the classic case of Regel and the Tzroros of a Regel. In the classic case of Regel, then you pay compensation from any property you own, meaning the owner of the Shar Mazik has to pay from anything. And that's called Shavik Kesem Kikesem. But not so in the case of Tzroros. In the case of Tzroros, we're assuming now, the Gemara is going to question this, that you only pay me Gufo. Just 1 second. I'm sorry. That in the case of classic one second, I'm a little confused. So we're talking about Regel now. No, again, Tzroros is a told of Regel. Oh, I got it. Yeah. Since the Halacha Moshe Sinai says that you pay Chatzi Nezek in the case of Tzroros the Regel, you might think that now the Torah is classifying it as Chatzi Nezek of Keren in the case of a Shor Tam. And if that be the case, then Keren Tam only pays me Gufo Shel Shor Mazik, maximum up to the market value of the Shor that did the Hezek, and not beyond that. But now if we classify Tzroros as a tolda of Regel, Regel pays min aliyah. Regel pays from anything that you have in your house. So even though it's Chatzi Nezek, it's not to be equated with Shortam. Shortam only pays Migufo, and Chatzi Nezek Tzroros, insofar as it's a tolda of Regel, will pay even min aliyah. So Gemara asks for me, boy, Rava, to boy Rava Chatzi Nezek Tzroros Migufo Mishalim o min aliyah Mishalim. When the Torah gave us the Halacha Moshe Sinai of Chatzi Nezek Tzroros, did the Torah mean to equate it with Chatzi Nezek of Shor Tam, and therefore would only pay Migufo? Or should we say no? When the Torah says you pay Chatzi Nezek, that's a separate Halacha paying Chatzi Nezek, but it's Shor, but it's Regel, and if it's Regel, you pay Min Aliyah. So the Gemara says, "L'Rava mi boy l'Rav Papa Pshita." The Rava mi poile amai correlates for up. So the Gemara is going to ask going to Rava is why do you call it a told of Regel? Lefotra b'shus harabe. So again, Rav Papa understood that Chatzi Nezek Tzroros pays Mina Aliyah. Why? Because it's a told of Regel. And Regel pays Mina Aliyah. That's the Shita Rav Papa. Rava was not sure about it, and he suggested that maybe Chatzi Nezek Tzroros should be equated with Chatzi Nezek of Shor Tam, and it should be collectible only Migufa, but not Min Aliyah. So the Gemara says that Rav Papa never had a doubt about it. He never vacillated. To him, it was clear that Chatzi Nezek Tzroros told of Regel, and it pays Min Aliyah. But the Gemara asks, according to Rava, who had one side to say that you pay in Tzroros Migufo, like Shor Tam, then am I correctly told of the Karen? What do you gain by classifying as a told of Karen if you're going to pay only Migufo? And the Gemara answers Lepotra Mishus Harabim. Regel is Potter Mishus Harabim. Karen is Chayiv Mishus Harabim. And the reason why we classify Tzroros as a told of Regel is to establish that he's Potter Mishus Harabim, like any Regel. And the fact that Regel is Potter B'Shus Harabim is based on the pasuk V'shilach as a be'era ubir b'stei acher, in a private domain. Hamave ve'heve mave. What is mav? Here again we have Machlokas Rav and Shmuel. It seems like Rav and Shmuel were they were the Amoraim that plowed through Nezikas and always debated. Rav says mav is Adam, and we'll see why mav Adam is called Mava. Shmuel Omer Mava is Shein, and then we'll have to see why Shein is called Mava. And the Gemara explains. Rav Omer Mava is Adam. Why is a man called a Mava? Tichsiv, based on a pasuk Yeshayach of Aleph, Omar Shomer Asa Boker, V'gam Laila. Im tiv oyun ba'oyu. So Kadosh Baruch Hu says, and he's called the Shomer Yisrael to the Navi Asa. Asa means it's boker. He Asa boker. And this is foretelling the future that down the line he's going to bring the Gula for the tzaddikim. V'gam Laila. What's v'gam Laila? It's choshech l'rishonim. But that's only im tevayun bayu, which means im tevakshu mechila utshuva. Then bayu could fit in for Adam, because bayu is a lashon of bakosha, of petitioning Hashem. So Rav says that Mava is Adam. Shmuel Amar Mava is Hashem. And then, of course, the Gemara is going to ask, well, Shor includes Shein. And how does Shmuel come to this strange conclusion that Mava is Shein? D'chsiv, pasuk in Ovadia, Ech nichpesu Esav nivu matzpunov. My mashma, what does that mean? We have to read the interpretation of the Turgaman. And who's the Turgaman? You have Yosef. And he writes, Ad achden isbelish Esav is Galia matmaruhi. Echdin means ech. How could it be? Isbelish. Isbelish means chipsu. And we're talking about the Oivim. The Oivim, the enemies of Esav, chipsu. And it means Gilu es kol matmunov, and they took it away. So we see that the word nivu means niglu, gilu, and we spoke about yesterday the shame that it goes the lips covered and then uncovered. Niva. The Mishnah doesn't say the word niva. If it would have said niva, then you could say maybe it means shame. He says he atzma nigles v'shayach lomer niva, lomer nigla. The shame became nigla. But in the Mishnah it says mave. So what's mave? So mave is miloshon gilui. Dover hamave, klomer megale. Mave means it reveals to others. So the Mishnah can't be talking about Adam. I'm sorry, about Shem. So Gemara asks Shmuel, my taibel omer kerav. Maybe Mava means Adam. Shmuel says miktoni boeh. That would have been the appropriate language, and I would have accepted the interpretation that the kavan is on Adam. Boeh. Adam boeh umevakish. Michti, says the Gemara, I don't understand. Kroy lo kamarak daiki, lo kamar daiki. At the end of the day, each Amora points out that the language of Mava is not particularly appropriate for the Adam or the shame. Is Rav my time over Kishmur? And where it says Tana Shar, Rav thinks that everything's included on the shore, whether it's Keren, Shane, Varegel. So therefore, Rav assumes that Mava cannot be Shane because it's already included on the shore. Ushmuel Nami Hatani Le Shar. Doesn't Shmuel agree that the word Shar includes not just Keren, but also Keren Regel, but also Shane? Rav Yehuda, yeah, according to Shmuel, he agrees that Shar in the Mishnah is a limited kind of definition. Shar is to be limited. Tana Shar lekarno, u'mav l'sheno. So Shar means Keren and only Keren. Mava means Shane and only Shane. And now the Gemara is going to explain what the Mishnah means by lo areya Shar kareya Mava. Lo areya Mava kareya Shar. Fundamentally different characteristics of the Shar and the Mava. Lo roya Keren she'ena no lezeko kareya Shane she'esha no lezeko. So maybe the Torah says Yechayev for Keren because that's a deliberate, belligerent act of the animal. But we're not going to be chayev you for Nizkei Shen. And the Gemara Daf Dalet says, "V'lo roya shein shein kavanos lahazi karoi hakeren shekavanos lahazi." So this is where we'll stop for today. And Mirz Hashem, we'll pick this up tomorrow. Okay then? So let me wish you a great day. Thank you so much.